Okay, I hope you guys are ready for a pup video because that's what this is right now. I have promised you Arctic fox pups and I am going to deliver on that promise today. Let's go over what happened this past summer up in Nunavut, Canada. I was trapping foxes. I do testing for disease in wildlife, and foxes are a really good kind of sentinel for a whole bunch of diseases. So I tracked the parents at the beginning of the season, and then I watched as they had pups, and I also tested their pups for diseases. So right now I'm going to talk to you a little bit about what happened with the pups. We had to set off and walk a lot to find all of these dens. So in the Arctic, you don't have roads, you don't have any vehicles. The way that we got around was by boat. So I'm going to insert a couple of clips here of us getting ready to head out for one of our hikes. Looking at dens to see if there's anything active. So you can see there's really, the only way that we could get around was by boat. And then we would walk the rest of the way. And that was great for the first little bit of the season, but as the temperatures warm, you start to see a ton of mosquitoes. And so I'm gonna put a clip in here for you guys. You can see me struggling with some of the mosquitoes. It got really bad at the end of the season. It was the worst that I've ever seen in my entire life. I've never seen that amount of mosquitoes before, which I guess makes sense because I'm studying insect-borne diseases. So
how many mosquitoes would you say are around you right now?
Over 1,000. Are you filming?
Yes.
Alright, so now we're going to start seeing some of the pups. Now you're going to see pups playing around these large live traps, and that's what we used to catch both the adults and the pups. Now the reason why they're so comfortable beside those traps in these videos is because the day or two before we would actually live trap at a location, we would go and set up these dummy traps that were wired open so they wouldn't close on the animals. And we'd leave them there for a couple of days. So the pups, by the time we were actually using live traps, were used to the traps being on the den. So you're gonna see a couple of pups playing on the traps. They really weren't phased. They loved the traps. And yeah, it was a pretty simple thing to do. The traps were baited with sardines as well as salmon. They loved fish, and then my new kind of technique that I created is we would take a couple of goose legs and wire it to the back, so you're gonna see these pieces of meat hanging at the very back. And the way the trap works is it's a foot pedal that sets the trap off to close, so they have to put their weight on this foot pedal that's on the ground, and then the trap door will close. So the reason for all of that meat being wired to the very back was that they would grab the meat, pull, kind of back step, and they would eventually whack that pedal that was on the ground and set off the trap.
It must not be triggered that way.
I thought for sure. That's hilarious. That's what our guy is like, sitting right on the trap.
Yeah.
They don't seem that hungry. Oh, oh, oh. might have one right here. We might have one. Yes, we got one. One, two, three, four, 7. They're all around the trap. Oh, it's so funny. So the one den that you just saw right there, that was the den that was all named after Game of Thrones. So we had, gosh, what were the pups' names? They were named after the dire wolves. So Shaggy Dog, Summer, Nymeria, what is it, Ghost? Is it Ghost? Anyways, all of the dire wolf names we used on that den, and we also used we named one pup Joffrey because this pup was the worst pup that we encountered during the entire time that we were there. It was such a mama's boy, and it just screamed the entire time that we worked with it. It wasn't being hurt at all. It was just upset that we were handling it. All of the other pups, normally they were pretty chill. They would kind of like just sit there, not really making a lot of noise. This one guy though, just wanted to give us a hard time. So that's why we named him that. Now, we're going to move on to some of the releases of the pups. You're going to see that they're actually pretty comfortable in our hands. And once we were done taking some blood, they would be released. And they just, we would drop them off right beside one of the holes for the dens, and they would just run into the hole. So this is a couple of the releases of the pups.
Hi, little pup. It's okay. Little one.
Oh, so cute.
Recording. Little one. There you go, honey.
All right.
Ready?
Yep. You're free. Now, as the season kept on going, we started to see the reason why there were so many foxes in the area. It's a bird migratory sanctuary, so all of the snow geese flock to this one area to have all of their babies. So, of course, there's the circle of life going on, and a lot of goslings in the area, and a lot of eggs mean a lot of foxes. So here's a couple of clips of some of the wildlife in the area that was technically food for these fox pups that you've been seeing. Oh, baby. So I'm editing the video right now, and I'm just going to throw this clip in here at this point because I want to explain why the foxes had ear tags on them now. So I had to ear tag these pups so that I knew exactly who they were. I'm going back to the same place over and over again for multiple years, so I have to be able to identify who each individual is. And so that's why they have ear tags. It didn't hurt them very much at all. It was very quick, and that way the information that we gather isn't useless. It really wouldn't make any sense to actually take blood in the first place if we don't have a track record of who is who. These ear tags are specially made for foxes. They do not interfere with their ability to survive. So that's why I ear tagged them. Now, it was really cool though because I could tell who each individual was. The way that we tracked each individual, if they had been bled or not and who they were, was by shaving certain patches of hair on their body, and that was only going to last for maybe a week and a half to 2 weeks because of course, hair grows back, so then we had to ear tag them to know who each one was. So that's why you're gonna see pups with these little ear tags.
Of us. Hi, little one. Is it yummy?
So the little guys that you just saw right now were actually Taylor's pups. If you haven't checked out my previous video on the adults, I will link it in the description down below as well as at the end of this video. But they were so cute. I named that entire den after the planets. So we had Saturn, which is actually the one video of the single fox pup that you saw that was really close. She actually kind of bonded with us, which is not ideal, but thankfully we're in an area where there's no human beings at all. So there's no risk of these animals actually being trapped by other people. But yeah, so that was Saturn, and then we had Neptune, we had Mars, which was super aggressive, hence the, god of war name. And Jupiter, what else did we have? Pluto, which I know is not a planet anymore, but, and Mercury. Yeah, we had a ton of pups. Now I'm going to show you another video, and this is actually a video of Audrey? Yes, Audrey's pups, and that whole den was named after Lord of the Rings. So we've got Gollum, Samwise, Frodo, Bilbo, who else? Yeah, a ton of pups. But you're gonna see them reacting to some of my friend's noises that he was making. He was making these almost rodent-like noises, and you can see them bobbing their heads up and down. They're trying to figure out what in the world it is and whether it's food or what it is, and it's just really cute. So once we were done, then it was time to go back to camp. We normally did this between the hours of, I would say, 4 to about 2 o'clock in the morning. Foxes are usually nocturnal animals, so they were more active in the evening and in the nighttime. So, but technically there's really not a lot of nighttime in the Arctic. You'll see it's just completely light outside still. It never got dark. And that's the video that I have for you guys for this week. I hope that you really enjoyed seeing some of my fox pups. In the end, I was very attached to them. Not in the sense that, I would hold them like a puppy or anything like that, but you watch these animals grow and you just fall in love with them and you care for every single one of them. And I was happy to see that all of the pups were healthy, and I did health checks on them. They were in great condition, and they were all ready to face what they would now have to face going into their first winter. So I hope you guys enjoyed this, and stay tuned for a lot more videos about field work in the Arctic. See ya!